This name I recognize, and you should recognize it as well, whether you're a sports fan generally or an NFL fan. Head coach of the Tennessee Titans from 1994 through 2010, and he's now in his second year as head coach of the St. Louis Rams. Jeff Fisher joining the program. Coach, how are you, sir?
I'm well. Good morning to both of you.
Great talking to you. Now, let me start with this replay system in baseball that has been proposed, because there are some similarities to the NFL and there are some differences, and you're a member of the competition committee with the NFL. The one thing that I'm intrigued by with baseball, the review is actually going to happen at a centralized location. Has that ever been discussed for the NFL, to take it away from the sidelines and out of the stadiums and send it to New York City?
You know, it's come up on occasion, but when it comes up, it's typically an outside proposal. The NHL is similar to that as well, but our system is very different, and we just don't want to take anything away from the referee on the field, because he's the crew chief. He should be the one ultimately making the decision. Is
there any change you would make if you could ram the decision through and get the owners behind it, at least 24 of them, to make that change effective? Is there one that you would do right now?
No, I really think our system works. I think we understand it. Everybody's familiar with it. It's not a perfect system, but it's a system that's designed to correct the obvious error. And over the last couple of years, what we've done is we've taken just a couple more issues out of the hands of the coaches and taken them up to the replay booth. Namely scoring and turnovers and such. So I think the system works, and I think the most important thing is I think our fans understand the system.
Talking to Jeff Fisher, head coach of the St. Louis Rams. When you're in that heat of the moment trying to decide whether or not to throw the red flag, explain how you process that, what help you get input, the decision-making, or is it just an instinct that kicks in or doesn't?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's important for the coaches to understand what we can challenge and what we can't challenge, because there's consequences for throwing the flag in situations where you can't challenge play. But so that's the first issue is, all right, can I challenge this play? And then of course I think typically for us it's the live shot. I mean it's you see the play take place, and there may be a question. If there's a question with the play, and then I think most of us will have someone upstairs that will say, "What do you got?" And I'll talk the assistant, whoever that is, through the process. Okay, is the catch completed? Does he have 2 feet down? Is the ball secure? And try to talk him through that when he gets the video from the replay feed, and then go ahead and make your decision real quick. And then sometimes it doesn't come, sometimes he doesn't have it, sometimes he's not sure, and then it ends up being a gut feel. But I think all of us in the league, we all realize how important timeouts are as they apply to the end of the half and the end of the game, and so we're very cautious about risking losing a timeout on a play that we're not sure of.
Visiting with Jeff Fisher, head coach of the St. Louis Rams. You have a preseason game coming up against the Green Bay Packers. What do you primarily look for in a preseason game?
Well, I'll go back to our first one. We went to Cleveland. We didn't win the game. We did some good things. We had some mistakes, and I think that you take the mistakes from the ball game and create them into positives and correct them. You certainly don't want to go out and score 40 points in your first preseason game and think you're ready for the regular season. You need to learn from things. Young players need to learn from things. We gave up a punt return for a touchdown, and we had young players on our punt cover team, and so we had to sit there and take a look at it and go back through and say, hey, how can we have avoided this and correct it? So big thing is correcting mistakes. In week 2, your players are going to play a little bit more than they did in week 1. I think we saw that last night. Some of the marquee quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks, were in the games in the second quarter, and so you build reps, and then you just want to build off from week 1 to week 2. You probably add a little bit more offensively and defensively, and we're all trying to coach up and get that core group of special teams ready for the regular season as well.
Talking to Jeff Fisher, the Rams head coach, and Tavon Austin, one of the highest profile rookies this year, the 8th overall selection. You traded up to get him. He wasn't seen much in the preseason opener. How can we expect to see him over the balance of the preseason, more importantly, when the games count? How many different roles do you have in mind for him?
Well, he's gonna do a lot of things for us offensively. He was on the field for 12, 14 plays in the opener, and had one ball thrown to him, and that's not uncommon in the first preseason game. I'd like to see him get his hands on some balls and watch him apply his run after catch ability that he had. That was really outstanding in college to the NFL. But there's a lot of things we're going to do with him, but certainly we've got to keep most of those a secret.
Has that ability to separate translated so far to what you've seen on the practice field?
He's having a great camp. Very smart young man, working very well with Sam. Versatile, can do a lot of things. Has great acceleration, stop and start, and hand-eye coordination. So we've seen it. I rarely do I compare players, but I remember years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when Chris Johnson was at training camp in Tennessee, he'd make a play in camp against your defense, and you'd say, gosh, I wonder if this was a game. Would he score if this was a game? And then, of course, you get in the preseason, and sure enough, he does. So we're kind of hoping to see the same thing out of Tavon here this preseason and early in the regular season.
I vividly recall the preseason game against the Rams in 2008 where Johnson took a handoff, and he was gone. And I think 5 guys thought they had an angle, and they didn't. Now, you're in the NFC West. A lot of people think it's the best division in football. Are they wrong?
Well, certainly it's a physical division. If you look back at the results and what both Seattle and San Francisco did last year, I think Arizona is going to be significantly better this year with Carson. So I'm not real big on saying, hey, this is the best one, but I'll tell you what, this is going to be a division where its members are going to win a lot of games. It's going to be very, very competitive.
Now, we've got to let you go. Again, talking to Jeff Fisher, the head coach of the Rams. You got a meeting coming up momentarily. What happens if the head coach is late for a meeting?
Well, this one happens to be a coaching staff meeting, so I have that diplomatic immunity where I am able to be a few minutes late, but I don't like to keep anybody waiting because they got to go on. We're the day before preseason game, so we got a lot of last minute preparation before we host the Packers here tomorrow night. Do
you apply the Tom Coughlin rule that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late?
No, I just when everybody's there, we'll start. That's the same thing we are with practice. If everybody's on the field, we'll start. Well,
we're going to let you go get started with your meeting. It's great talking to you. We wish you all the best. Can't wait to see what Tavon Austin and Stedman Bailey and all your rookies and all your players do this year. Thanks, Coach. Have a good one.
All right, thanks so much. Best today.
Jeff Fisher. The St. Louis Rams. Do not go to sleep on the St. Louis Rams, people. Paulie.
You have a crush on Tavon Austin.
I love Tavon Austin.
I know you do.
I worry about Tavon Austin. First of all,
at night, do you get up, you rock back and forth like Leo Mazzoni, worried about him?
Well, look, I have stood next to Tavon Austin, and I am not a large man. I'm about 5'11", okay? Tavon Austin is much, much, much shorter than me. Tavon Austin is little. They have him listed at 175. The 7 and the 5 have been transposed. He is tiny. There is nothing to this guy. He had better be able to elude defensive backs. Now, I saw him elude a cab in New York City the day of the draft. We had an interview set up on 6th Avenue, and as he was crossing the street, he did the Frogger routine, and literally, or figuratively, not figuratively, there's been a debate over the proper use of literally. Literally, he was almost hit by a cab. And he somehow jumped away from it. I still don't know what the move was, but if he uses it on a football field, they're never going to get him. Just get him the ball and let him go.